So, big installation day. First, I have to tear out all of this ugly particle board cabinetry, and I'm going to throw up some pine boards on that wall there, which actually is going to take a long time because I have to make cutouts around all those outlets. I already replaced the window and built all of this trim, new windowsill, and the homeowner painted it, and it looks a lot nicer than the old window. So I didn't record the entire installation process, and by the way, these are the worst drawers in the world. There are actually drawer slides on them. There actually isn't much to the cabinetry. I just cut right through it with the Sawzall, and there it is, all gone. That was actually really quick, and this literally is the worst cabinetry in the world, the way it's constructed. There's hardly anything to it. It's entirely particle board and barely functional. What a mess. So I put these 3/4 inch plastic outlet extensions, so I don't have to do much to the wiring. I just have to get the location and fit around the windowsill. So I start with that first, and I fill in this area, and I'm going to glue it right to the wall so I can minimize how many fasteners I need. I'm just going to use 15 gauge finish nails. So I found that the best way to make those cutouts is to use the Dremel tool, and it can do the square edges pretty clean. There's a lot of vibration though. So doing all that cutting outside, I made a little jig for lining it up easier, but that's my first one. So it took about a day's work to install all the pine boards and cover up the wall. Typically you would just add more drywall to cover up existing wallpaper, but I don't really like working with drywall. And so the homeowner liked the idea of the natural wood as a contrast with the white paint, and I think it ended up looking pretty good. So this is the installation of the toe kick, and this part of the process is actually the most involved part of the installation. I had to cut part of the toe kick to fit around that gas pipe because I didn't want to mess around with disconnecting that. So I just had to block that out and put it back together. So the toe kick is leveled in place. I build the toe kick to be the exact footprint of the cabinet so I can see where everything lines up. And I use the cedar shingle shakes as the shims to level up the toe kick. There's quite a bit of trial and error in the process of leveling a toe kick. The cedar shims are somewhat soft and the floor will give a little bit, so you have to check it each time you insert a fastener into the floor to make sure that you still have that level position. So this floor actually wasn't too bad. It was actually perfectly level, long ways from left to right. I just had to block out the back and shim it out in a couple of places. But the toe kick is a time-consuming part. Working on the floor is not easy, but once the toe kick is in place, the rest of the cabinetry is fairly straightforward to install. And so it's easier to build cabinets into pieces like this so that you can level it up this way. It's important to get it almost perfectly level and get it secured so that the installation of the rest of the cabinets can go quick and be more accurate. Some floors are really off by quite a bit, so making the toe kick separate gives you a little bit more flexibility to deal with problem situations. And then there's going to be covers that fit over the toe kick after everything is installed, and that's pretty much the last step. So the cedar is good and soft. It can trim with a knife for the most part. I had to cut a few pieces with the handsaw, but it's pretty easy to work with those shims. So now the toe kick is in place. I add cleats on the side so that I know where to install the screws inside the cabinets. So I have plenty of places to insert a screw, and boom, there it is. So I didn't film the actual installation of the cabinets or the countertop because I needed help and it was a long and stressful day. I had to make 2 trips and was in a rush, so I didn't even think to set up the camera, just had to get it done. But the cabinets go in through the bottom, they screw into the toe kick, and then I pocket screw the top into the wall studs in a couple places, and that secures it in place. So the backsplash had a slight gap behind the sink there because there was a bow in the wall, but for the most part it went together okay. And I'm going to fill in that little void in the floor with a piece of plywood. So at this point in the process I need to install the doors and fit the drawer fronts. Right now I'm filling in this last plank of wood on the wall to line up where the countertop ended up, and then I need to do toe kick covers, install the shelving, clean up everything, and that should be it.